Getting a month ahead of your expenses is one of the single most effective things you can do to boost your savings, reduce your stress, and get better sleep at night. And here at YNAB, we've helped thousands of people do just that. So today, I'm going to show you how to do it. By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to figure out exactly when you can get a month ahead, how much that's going to take from each paycheck, and a step-by-step plan to bring that goal to fruition. I'm Ben with the YNAB team, and this is Sketchy Advice. Personal finance advice that actually works. Step 1, calculate your CTBY. CTBY just stands for cost to be you. If we're gonna get you a full month ahead, we need to know what a month actually looks like for you. The easiest place to start is with all of your regularly recurring bills with deadlines and set amounts. That's everything from your mortgage to your Hulu to your organic free trade goldfish food subscription. You'll want to write down when these things come due and how much money they cost. Things like utilities, where it's always on the same day, but the amount fluctuates, you can just kind of guess a little bit higher than normal, and that should do just fine. Once you've got all of those written down with all of their dollar amounts, then you can move on to recurring necessary expenses, things like groceries or transportation. If this is your first time ever doing something like this, don't worry too much about getting these numbers perfectly accurate. We can always tweak this as we go. Nothing is set in stone. But given what I know about people, it's probably worth leaning on the side of spending more money than less. Because if you haven't been tracking your spending, you're probably spending more than you think. Now you've got all of your regularly recurring bills and all of your regular necessary expenses. Last thing to do is discretionary spending. Stuff like personal fun money or hobbies or whatever. Stuff that's not necessary, but you do like to spend money on it. When you're done, you should have a list of all the things that you spend money on in a given month. Add all of those numbers together and you've got your most basic CTBY. It might also be handy at this point to kind of subdivide your expenses between necessities and non-necessities so that you can know, okay, in order to survive in a given month, I need to have this much money, but in order to thrive in a given month, don't know why I said it like that. It's the whole thing. It's the entire total. This is also a really good time to scrutinize all of these expenses. Like, do you really need the organic goldfish food? Do you? I'm not saying try to cut things down so you feel responsible or you're not unreasonable. What I am saying is if there's anything in there where you're like, man, I don't even really know why we're paying for that or why we're paying that much, now's a good time to just... Because anything you remove reduces your CTBY, which means getting a month ahead will happen faster. But also at the same time, don't try to trim down your plan so that you're living like a monk. Because yeah, you'll get a month ahead faster, but you've gotten a month ahead on living like a monk. And unless you're wanting to live like a monk, you probably shouldn't do that. Now that you've got your CTBY, you can move to step 2, create your month ahead timeline. It's probably going to take you a while to get a month ahead, which means you're going to be saving for a while. And we want to be careful here, because according to this study, people who have a far-off savings goal, like I'm going to save $2,000 in 6 months, tend to do two things. One, they tend to overestimate how good at saving they're going to be in the future. This tends to be because, according to this study, we think of our future selves as basically a different person. Who knows if I'm going to be in the future? I could be Tim Allen. That's not true. I may be struggling with impulse purchases and saving right now, but me in 6 months could be a totally different person. Maybe they'll be confident and controlled and disciplined and, oh no, we didn't save enough money. Because that is the other effect of having a far-off savings goal. You tend to do worse at it. So the way we can get around this problem is by focusing either on what we're saving each month or on what we're saving each paycheck. That same study found that people who focused on month-to-month savings actually did much better at hitting their goals than people who focused on far-off savings. Now, in order to get a month ahead, I just need to save my CTBY. So to calculate how much I need to save each paycheck, I just take that number and divide it by the number of paychecks between now and when I'm wanting to get a month ahead. So if your CTBY is $4,500 and you want to get there in about 6 months and you have about 12 paychecks between now and then, you can just divide $4,500 by 12 paychecks. And that is how much money you need to set aside each paycheck. If that seems like too much, you can extend the timeline. What about 9 months instead of 6? Once you found a sweet spot, you should know exactly how long it's going to take you to get a month ahead and exactly how much money needs to come out of each paycheck in order to pull that off. Pretty simple. But in order for this to work, we absolutely need step 3. Be your own psychic. Guys, this might be even more important than getting a month ahead. What you're wanting from getting a month ahead might actually be hidden in this step. Imagine you want some foresight on what's going to happen with you financially next year. So you go and you pay a psychic and she looks into her crystal ball and she's like, the tires that you haven't changed since you got the car, you'll probably need to change those this year. You'll forget about your Amazon Prime subscription in March and it'll be really annoying when it gets charged to your credit card. You're going to come out of the holidays thinking, oh, I need to save for this next year, and you're not going to think about it again until November 29th. Would you be happy to pay that psychic? Would you be like, wow, the supernatural is truly real? No, because you know all that. So here's the question. If you know all that stuff already, what is stopping you from preparing for it now? Getting a month ahead gives us kind of a general flexibility for whatever happens. It's like when the quarterback gets the ball and he does that little shuffle backwards and he gives himself lots of space to get between him and the defenders. It's just a nice buffer. It just gives you a little room, a little breathing room. But being your own psychic is about targeting specific things that you know are coming down the line. You know your car is going to break down at some point. You know you have to pay for Amazon Prime. You know the holidays are going to come around again. So you've set aside money to deal with those things. If getting a month ahead is like the quarterback going back into the pocket, then being your own psychic is like having an offensive line blocking specific defenders. Sorry for getting lost in all these sports analogies. It's just such a jock, you know. Because here's the thing, those larger, less frequent expenses, those are also part of your cost to be you. They just don't manifest as frequently. So just like you did with all your monthly bills, write down all of those non-monthly expenses that you need to deal with. Repairs, subscriptions, payments that don't happen on a monthly plan. And then, just like we did with CTBY, break down that number. If you know you need to make a big insurance payment in 4 months, take that amount, divide it by 4, set that aside each month. If you just renewed your car's tags and you got the whole year, you can just divide that number by 12 and boom, you've got that money for car tags all ready to go. And if you're looking at an expense that doesn't have a set amount or a set date it comes due, like car repairs, then I just like to think about, what would I like to have a year from now? If I want to have $2,400 for car repairs a year from now, then I can just set aside $200 a month. Once you've written all this stuff down, you've basically got the financial plan to future-proof your life. And if you want to be extra super stable, you can add all those numbers together and add it to your CTBY over here. Or you can just focus on getting a month ahead on your monthly expenses. That's totally fine. These future-proofing expenses are going to give you real stability because they actually prepare you for the things that are coming. When you've built up a good amount of psychic money, all the getting month ahead stuff is just gravy. It's just extra resilience built into your finances. So now let's take things from abstract planning to real dollars with step 4. Assign every dollar you have. Before you begin this journey to getting a month ahead, you need to know where you're at this month. So to do that, you're not going to look at your next paycheck. What you're going to look at is the money that's sitting in your checking accounts and your savings accounts right now. All of the cash that you had liquid. You're going to total all of that money up, and then you're going to give every dollar a job. Think of this as stuffing dollars into envelopes so they're there when you need to spend them later. The first thing I want you to do is assign as many dollars as you have in all of your savings accounts. Send those to specific savings jobs, like repairs, like annual subscriptions, registrations, all that stuff. If you're able to cover all the monthly amounts you've written down, then you can start padding some of those savings. Or maybe you want to distribute it more evenly between all your categories. But you're going to do that until you run out of savings dollars to assign. There's a good chance you'll need to tweak some of your calculations here as you go, because as you fill up savings categories, what you need to set aside each month is going to change. Or if you put money towards next month ahead, then that's going to change your timeline. This is one of the reasons I really like the YNAB app, is because it does all those calculations in real time for me, but if you're happy to just scribble and use a calculator, that's good too. Once you've got all your savings dollars taken care of, it's time to look at your checking dollars. So to start, you're gonna send these toward your most urgent, necessary expenses. The internet bill that's coming due before your next paycheck, the grocery trip you're gonna need to take tomorrow, the stuff that needs to get paid for between now and when you get paid again. Because remember, we're not looking at your monthly paycheck, we're just looking at what you've got right now. Once you've covered those things, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. You could keep funding bills that come after your paycheck, you could put some money towards fun money, or even put some more into your savings goals. Heck, if you got room, you could assign some of those dollars to getting a month ahead and give yourself a little bit of a head start. But whatever you do, you're going to assign those dollars until you get down to zero. Once you've done that, you have decided what you want every single dollar to do before you've actually spent it. And that's going to show you exactly where you stand right now. With all those dollars assigned, now is the time to conduct a reality check. You've written down this beautiful plan, but does your plan make sense? Now that you've run through your plan, you should have a pretty good idea what you need to set aside every month for this plan to function. Compare that number to how much money your household brings in a month. If your income is higher than your CTBY, that's great news because it means you have more room in your plan to send dollars elsewhere. But if your income is lower than your CTBY, that means you currently can't afford to fund the plan you've made, and you're going to need to look at it and make some changes. Either way, you want to adjust your plan until your monthly income and your CTBY are the same. Once those two numbers are synced up, that means that you can afford the plan that you've made and every dollar has been given a thoughtfully considered job by you. The final two steps are really just about maintaining the plan you've made. So the next step is to create a paycheck routine. The good thing about a plan like this is it makes your paycheck routine really friggin' simple. First, you look at your plan and ask yourself, what does my money need to do before I get paid again? What bills need to get paid? What expenses do I need to cover in order to survive? You assign money to those things. If you still have money left over, you can ask yourself, well, what do I want my money to do before I get paid again? Maybe putting some of it into those discretionary funds like your hobbies or your personal fund money. Next, you ask yourself, do you have any of those psychic future expenses you want to cover so that you can build more stability into your plan? If you do, then you assign dollars to those things. Then finally, if you still have money left over, you can put everything else to getting a month ahead. And you're done. You do that every time you get money, and you are going to feel like you are in control of your money, and it's just going to feel easy. It's just going to feel like clockwork. And then the final step is to actually use your spending plan. All of this planning is great, but it kind of doesn't make sense if we just make this beautiful plan and then don't use it. What that looks like is before you go spend money on a website or at a store or whatever, you look at your plan first. You ask yourself, okay, how much money do I actually have for groceries or clothing or gifts or whatever? And you make spending decisions based on that plan. And importantly, if something comes up and you're like, oh man, it's really important to me that I buy this, but your plan doesn't allow for it, you can tweak that plan. You just got to look at it and say, okay, what matters to me less than buying this sweater or going on this trip or whatever it is? And then you move dollars from that category or multiple categories to cover the overspending in the other one. By doing that, you're maintaining clarity about exactly what your money is doing, but you're also able to be flexible when you get new information or your priorities change. And that's it. You've got everything you need to know to get a month ahead. So I wish you luck, and I'll see you next time.